have never actually done a video quite like this before, but since so many of you asked for it, here it is. Today we're taking a deep dive into the luxurious world of fashion featured in the highly anticipated third season of The White Lotus, which I feel like is a show most of you have probably seen. I really enjoyed finally having a show again that felt like almost the weather. It was such an easy conversation starter since most people watch this show. It felt like anyone I bumped into, it was something I could have a conversation with about this show. I do think that, I think the third season was probably my favorite because I really enjoyed the characters. I found the storylines really easy to keep up with. I liked that there wasn't too much mingling between the different groups, and Chelsea's character just captured my heart. She was such an amazing character, and I really liked how their relationship developed with Rick over the season. But if you have not seen the show, worry you not, there aren't going to be no spoilers. We are here to talk about the fashion, which was of course very much inspired by the stunning backdrop, which in this season was Thailand. And the season promises not only some captivating storylines, but also some incredibly curated designer looks. So if you would like to find out everything that there is to know about some of the most eye-catching designer pieces featured in this show, including where they are from, how much they will set you back, where to find them, if you can still find them, and if they are no longer available, what alternatives there are out there this current season. Perhaps you're looking for some inspiration for your upcoming summer trip, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. The creator of the show, Mike White, has transported the narrative to Thailand this season, a country bursting with vibrant colors and rich culture, which gave the costume designer Alex Boulevard the opportunity to really showcase the opulence of luxury fashion. As a viewer of the show, you'll probably know that at the White Lotus, everything is exaggerated and overly theatrical, the costume design included. It's the place where wearing Valentino to the pool and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry doesn't look or feel out of place. So it is a really fun show to watch. Now, this season obviously has a tropical backdrop, and it called for a more airy, bold, and striking wardrobe that captures the essence of being on a tropical island, which is drastically different from the outfits that one would choose to wear to Italy or even Hawaii. I think this season they did an incredible job with the costume design. It blended perfectly with the scenery. So if you have a tropical vacation coming up, this is certainly something that you could be inspired by. Now, the show sourced pieces from all different places. Not every single piece that they had was designer, even though that's what we're going to be focusing on today, but they had pieces that cost as little as $1. They had dresses from Banana Republic. The White Lotus even has a collaboration with H&M, but we're here to discuss some of the most extravagant, over-the-top designer pieces, some of which was actually sourced from vintage designer stores. Others you can still buy directly from the brand, and then some incredibly rare and special pieces were actually designed for the show by brands like Valentino and Jacob&Co. And wherever we talk about these special pieces that you can no longer buy, I'll try my best to suggest some alternatives in case you feel like these are pieces that would truly complement your summer wardrobe. And of course, we cannot forget about the over $1 million worth of jewelry and watches that was lent to the cast, because I think they did such an incredible job, especially with their watches. They used watches as an extension of each character, because they made a point to have the characters change for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they had to have a different outfit for each occasion. But the one thing that remained consistent was their watches. So they really had to make sure that those watches are a reflection of their personality. And they did an incredible job with that. So why don't we start there? Why don't we talk about some of the most eye-catching watches, starting with the Radcliffe parents' watches, which the Radcliffe family is of course they're one of the main group of characters, and they are this extremely wealthy financier family from the south. And the heads of the family, so the mom and the dad, I don't remember their names. I'm sorry guys, I'm not the best with names, and that's why we're not here doing a review on the show, but purely on the fashion. They both wear a Rolex Day Date, the second edition. They have matching day dates in solid gold by both the mother and the father. I think the mother is called Victoria, and then the father is called Timothy, but I might be wrong about that. You know who I'm talking about. They wear day dates, which is of course one of the most classic watches money can buy. They're also known as the President's watch, and they chose to go for the solid gold version, which goes perfectly with their over the top, extremely wealthy, but very traditional character. And I think it is a very good reflection of the value system of the family. They couldn't have picked a better watch for each one of them, and I love the fact that they wore matching watches throughout the entire show. Moving on to the next watch, which is in a completely different price range and completely different league, which is Shritala. I hope I pronounced that right. She is the owner of the hotel of this location of the White Lotus in the show, who chose to wear a Jacob&Co Fleur de Jardin watch, which is definitely a little bit more niche. In case you're not familiar with Jacob&Co, they are a little bit more for those who are in the know, but their pieces are definitely not understated. Every single thing that they do is extremely over the top. It is an American brand that was founded in 1986 by the fine jewelry connoisseur Jacob Rabo, and they have sourced and created some of the most incredible, most opulent pieces for some of the wealthiest people out there. This watch included. It's not really even a watch, it's more like an art piece that sits on your wrist. It retails for $380,000, and the pink version that the character wore actually has this botanical garden inspiration to it. It's pretty much a greenhouse that gets to sit on your wrist. There are only 101 pieces floating around out there, and each petal that is featured in the watch is handcrafted out of individual fancy colored sapphires using kite cut, which is this really special triangular cut. You guys may remember that I looked at a kite cut diamond necklace when I was in London. If you have not seen that vlog, I'll make sure to have it linked up here for you. So most flower petals are made using this kite cut, and then the center sapphire is in the house's signature Jacob cut, which adds 288 delicate facets to a single piece of pink sapphire. So there is definitely a lot that goes into the creation of this watch, and if you're really into these high jewelry inspired pieces, these true pieces of art, this is certainly something that I would recommend that you look at some pictures of, and Jacob&Co will definitely have some incredibly mind-blowing creations for you to just dream about. And last but not least, let's talk about Jacqueline's timepiece. Now, I'm pretty sure that this character is called Jacqueline because she was the best dressed character in my opinion, so we'll have quite a few pieces to discuss from her wardrobe. So she's the perfect person to end our watch review with. So she actually wore a timepiece from Hermes, and she chose to wear the Nantucket watch, which is not a new design, but she is wearing one of the newer iterations of this watch, which is an extremely thin, delicate feminine watch. The face is only 29 millimeters, and her watch is in solid rose gold, but it's something that you can also find in white gold, yellow gold, and it's also available with a leather band, which makes it a lot more reasonably priced. But this chain watch that she's wearing in the show is one of the newest iterations and newest takes on this watch. It is extremely popular, and I think it is kind of reasonably priced for a solid gold watch. This watch will set you back just under $1,000. It's also available set with diamonds. They have a version where they just have a little bit of sprinkling of diamonds on the watch. They have a version where the entire face is covered in diamonds, and then they have a full pavé version, which is exactly 10 times the price. So you have plenty of options, but I am seeing more and more of these watches, perhaps inspired by the show. And by the way, the one that she's wearing is in rose gold, as I mentioned, and the face is made of a mother of pearl, which makes it really soft and really delicate. But the fact that it features a chain band instead of leather also makes it quite dressy. So it is one of those watches that you can definitely take in either direction. If you're looking to buy just one single watch that is delicate and feminine, but you can make it look and feel both formal and bold, this would be an incredible piece for you to play around with. And it is, of course, still available now. You can not only find Hermes watches at Hermes, but you can also pick them up on the pre-loved market, usually for a fraction of the price, because sadly Hermes watches don't really hold their value. But while we're on the topic of Jacqueline and Hermes, let's talk about another piece that she wore in the show just for simply lounging around, which is this beautiful silk caftan. It is a style that Hermes offers each and every single season, but they do change the print. This print is from fall winter 2023, if I'm not mistaken, and it was called Le Timbre Finesse. I'm pretty sure I just butchered that, but it was a seasonal print that of course pays tribute to the brand's equestrian heritage. It's not a print that's currently available, but back in the day, I think they had silk shirts, silk dresses, they had this caftan, they even had a knitted cardigan with a silk inlay with this beautiful print. And these are styles that again you'll see over and over again, but with different prints. For this current season, Hermes is doing a silk caftan in pink with the iconic Brie de Gala print, but with a seasonal take. It's called Brie de Gala en fleur, so it does feature some really petite little flowers, and they have a silk caftan available for 3,100 euros. But if you are into silk caftans from Hermes, definitely look on the pre-loved market. And again, if you're not a fan of this particular print that Hermes has available now, just know that they'll probably do something similar this upcoming season. Moving on to Kate's character, another member of the girl gang. She is the lady who lives in Houston and does not leave the best impression. I wasn't really the biggest fan of her wardrobe. Most of her, or a lot of her pieces I should say, were pieces from Valentino. I love the House of Valentino, but it's not my personal aesthetic, but I do think it went really well with her character. But two things that I wanted to point out is her stack of love bracelets. So she wore two different love bracelets throughout the entire show, one in the new matte finish and one in the original with the original finish. If you'd like to find out more about this new matte finish of love bracelets, I will make sure to have a video linked up here for you. And then this was not actually part of the show, but during the press tour, the actress actually wore a head-to-toe Hermes runway look, which I just wanted to point out to you here. And then moving on to Lori, who is the third member of the group of friends. She actually wore quite a few interesting pieces, even though it didn't really match her storyline, but she did wear an Hermes beach bag, which is from the Hermes Beach collection. If you were not aware, Hermes is of course a lifestyle brand. They'll make anything and everything under the sun, including an entire beach collection, which includes beach bags, beach towels, beach pillows. I was actually really surprised that I don't remember seeing any designer towels in this show, which if you know me, I am very much against buying designer towels just because I'm not the most beachy person, and whenever I travel, I like to stay at resorts that will provide towels. And obviously they stayed at the Four Seasons, which is a resort known for providing towels. But if anyone will carry their own designer towels with them, it would be people like these who were featured in the show. Anyway, we did not, or at least I don't remember seeing any designer towels, but Lori wore an Hermes beach bag, which is definitely not something that I would recommend that you spend your money on. But if you love the look of it, it is the From My Window beach bag, which features this really colorful graphic print, and it can be yours for just under €2,000. Now, the reason I would never buy an Hermes beach bag is because they are insanely overpriced for the quality and for what they add to your collection. They don't feature any leather. They are made of canvas. They're usually lined with canvas. The handles, more often than not, are made of some sort of cord. And I just really don't think that they add enough bang for your buck to your collection. I would have much preferred to see her with perhaps a garden party. I think an Hermes garden party is something that I would have loved to see in the show as a beach bag. So maybe a canvas garden party or a leather garden party in a large size in a really eye-catching, striking color. That I think would have been a much better choice. Or when we're talking about Laura's character, I would have loved to see her with the Goyard Balhara, I think it's called, Balhara beach bag, which is one of the permanent pieces in the Goyard collection that actually features the Goyardine canvas in turquoise. Turquoise is a seasonal color that Goyard will only do on certain pieces in the summer, but this is one of the only pieces that features that color. It's a large canvas bag similar to the Hermes one, but I think it is a lot more refined. It looks a lot less like something that you bought from a farmer's market. So I personally would have preferred that bag on Loewe over the Hermes one. I really would not recommend that you spend your money on anything from the Hermes Beach collection because I don't think that they are worth the money. But speaking of Goyard, Loewe also wore an itty bitty tiny mini backpack from Goyard, which actually comes in two different sizes. This, as the name suggests, being the mini out of the two, the size jump between the mini and the size is really quite drastic. And I think there might be an even larger version, but it's slightly different. I think it's called Alpine something. So technically, when we're looking at the core collection, there are only two different sizes. One, the mini, is usually offered to women, and then the larger is something that usually men will carry, but of course you can buy whatever you like. What makes this mini backpack quite special is that the strap you can actually remove. You can either carry this bag as a full-on backpack as it was shown in the show, or you can remove one of the straps and just carry it as a shoulder bag or a crossbody bag, or you can remove the strap completely and use it as a handheld bag because it does have an itty bitty handle, which is quite special. It comes in the full range of Goyard colors, which now means that every single color is the same price. If you'd like to find out more about Goyard and why I'm saying it that it's all the same price, whereas that wasn't the case before, I do have a brand review on Goyard, which I can make sure to link up here for you. We didn't get a glimpse of any traditional Birkin or Kelly bags on this show, and I actually really like that. I feel like it would have been too on the nose for these characters to be carrying a Birkin or a Kelly. You know, rich people and Birkins and Kellys. I think it's overdone, not to mention that it wouldn't have gone really well with the aesthetic and the characters, at least when it comes to the traditional Birkin and Kelly bags. But I actually think that Laura's character could have pulled off a Kelly jump backpack, which is the newest iteration of a Kelly backpack. It comes with a tiny little side pocket, which also features a Kelly twist closure, and compared to previous Kelly-inspired backpacks, so the Kellyado, this bag is a little bit more casual and laid back. It comes in two different sizes in Swift leather, and I do think that's a bag that would have looked really nice on Loewe. And then the only other character I could have seen carrying a Kelly-inspired bag is the owner of the hotel. I think she would have looked beautiful with a Kelly cut. That's definitely a bag that I think she could have pulled off. Perhaps a Kelly cut in exotic leather, especially in lisse, so in shiny alligator, or even a Kelly Elan, I think is something that would have looked beautiful with her look, although the majority of the designers that she wore were actually Thai designers. So I like the fact that they placed an emphasis on highlighting and showcasing local designers. But I think she would have looked beautiful with a Kelly cut or a Kelly Elan in a really over-the-top, luxurious, opulent finish like lisse alligator or lisse crop. But going back to the pieces that we actually got to see on the show, Jacqueline wore this incredible Chanel chiffon gown as a cover-up, which again, I feel like very few people would wear a runway piece to the pool, but she did. It was from the 2006 runway show and it looked beautiful on her. I'm surprised we did not see more Chanel pieces, especially from the Chanel summer and beach collections, but I thought this one was just the perfect piece to have on the show. And speaking of her beach looks, in one of the episodes she also carried a Bottega suede woven tote, which I don't think this particular style of Bottega bag is still available currently, but of course Bottega is known for their incredible woven handbags, and if you're looking for a large and in charge tote that features their iconic woven texture, the Kaba tote bag is not something you can go wrong with. It comes in a huge range of different sizes, from minis all the way to large, almost duffel bag like sizes that I am a huge fan of. Sadly, they will cost a pretty penny, pretty much your firstborn when you're looking at some of the larger sizes, but they are pieces that you can pick up from the pre-loved market at a much more reasonable price. Now, something that again I could have seen these characters carry is a large picotin in a really bright color to the beach or to the pool. I think that would have made quite the statement, especially Kate's character, considering that the actress likes Hermes in real life. So that is definitely something I could have seen one of these characters carry strictly to the pool. By far the funniest character on the show is Victoria Radcliffe. Her character development, her acting is something I could watch an entire dedicated show on. She kind of reminded me of Moira Rose. I don't know if you're familiar with Schitt's Creek, but if that's a show that you've seen, I would love to hear what you think. Do you think that Victoria was perhaps based on or inspired by Moira? That's the hunch that I have, but Victoria was just hilarious, and I also really enjoyed her outfits. She definitely wore a lot of designers, although she had quite a few Banana Republic dresses in her wardrobe that were accessorized with some designer scarves, shawls, bags, and some beautiful eye-catching jewelry. She wore quite a few David Webb pieces, including this nail ring. She had this nail ring on, which I at first thought was a piece from Cartier, but it's actually from an American designer called David Webb. Their pieces are not that much less expensive than Cartier. I think that particular ring is just around $7,000-$8,000 and is slightly thicker than the Cartier, just to include. But I think Victoria's most memorable designer pieces were her Gucci bag that she wore in a few of the episodes. I think it is the Gucci Bamboo 1947 bag, which is not my personal favorite if we're talking about Hermes, just because you guys know that that's the brand I'm most familiar with. I could have seen her carry something like perhaps an Elan bag, so maybe a Della Cavalleria Elan, which is currently available in Cray in Epsom. I think that would have been a very similar look, but I personally would have preferred that bag compared to the Gucci one, or even a Bellussois bag, which is a relatively new launch in the Hermes range. It's a bag that launched for spring-summer 2023, I want to say. It was a full silk bag. I'm saying it as if it was in the past. This is a bag that's still available, but it was a seasonal bag, so the only reason you can still find it is because it hasn't sold out, but it's not something that's part of the permanent range. But the Bellussois bag is made of silk. The silk does have a coating that is meant to make it a little bit more hard wearing, but it is 100% silk bag. It is extremely casual and slouchy. The only leather details that you'll find is on the handle of the bag, and that's certainly something I could have seen on Victoria's character. I just have to give my favorite character from the show, Chelsea, an honorable mention here. Her outfits were not my favorite. Her style is really not something that I personally appreciate. But one piece that I loved seeing on her was the Luna Flow Stay Gold pendant. It is a beautiful piece of fine jewelry. I do think that she also would have looked beautiful with some foundry pieces. That's certainly another designer house that would have gone beautifully with her character. And if we're talking Hermes, I definitely don't think that she's an Hermes girl. But if I had to match her with a summery Hermes bag, I think I would have given her a Silk City, which is this really casual, laid back bohemian piece that is made of silk. It's usually available in seasonal silk prints. For this current season, they're really not doing anything too bohemian. I think this season they're doing some Faubourg inspired prints, but that style of bag is something that I think would have looked beautifully on her. It is a really casual sort of satchel bag that comes with an adjustable leather strap, and the bag is really sort of relaxed and laid back, of course, because it is made of silk. However, a character quite close to Chelsea is Chloe, and she did have some Hermes pieces in the show. So she wore, well, something that she had throughout the show is her Hermes card case, which is the MegaSafe card case. It's this really simple leather pouch that you can snap onto the back of your iPhone, which carries nothing more but a single card. If you'd like to find out what prints and what designs it's currently available in, I will make sure to have my last What's New from Hermes update linked up here for you. And then something slightly more eye-catching is her Hermes bikini. She wore a two-piece from Hermes, which I cannot tell if it's the Ella or the Elena bathing suit. They're very similar styles. I think the only difference is the amount of ruching that you have on these pieces, but of course Hermes has an extensive range of bathing suits, the Ella and the Elena included, which are their take on a slightly more sexy bathing suit. This brings us to the end of today's video discussing the luxury fashion featured in the third season of the White Lotus. I really hope you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. Please let me know what you think about the show, what you think about this season, what do you think about the pieces mentioned, did I miss anything? I think a lot of people also talked about Laura's puzzle bag, which without a doubt is a really eye-catching piece. It is one of the latest additions to the Loewe bag range. It's available, I think, in 3 or 4 sizes. There is a mini, she carried the medium, and then there is extra large, and then there is definitely a small. So I think there are 4 different sizes in the puzzle bag, the squeeze bag, sorry. So she carried the squeeze bag. I keep saying the puzzle because of course Loewe is known for their iconic puzzle bag, but she wore the squeeze bag, which is a lot more relaxed. It is this leather hobo bag that comes with an adjustable metal chain. I think it's an incredibly cool bag. It's not my cup of tea. To me, it is a little bit more feminine, but I think it went beautifully with her character. So that's another piece that a lot of people talked about, and it's a great bag if you're looking for a really casual, laid back but put together creation, something that would be a great workhorse piece to have in your collection. That's certainly something that you could look into either in a medium or in the small size. So yeah, I think these were all the pieces that I wanted to mention today. Let me know what you think. Are there any pieces that you feel like they could have featured? I was surprised not to see any Hermes shoes, so Orients, Izmirs, or even any sheep sandals. I'm not complaining about it because I'm not the biggest fan of those shoes, but I again think that those are a summer staple that a lot of these characters would have in their wardrobes in real life. But yeah, I'm just surprised I did not see any Della Cavalleria bags or any Hermes silk scarves, because that again I think would have just gone so organically with the show. But this is everything I had for you today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and let me know if there are any other shows that you would like me to do a similar deep dive on. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I will see you back here with a new video really soon.